We're here today to talk about a serious issue, distracted driving. It's an issue not just here in Greeley, but all across the country and probably the world. We've all probably been guilty of it at one time or another, driving and not keeping our full attention at the wheel, but it makes our streets a dangerous place to be. And we're here today with Officer Steve Duus from the Greeley Police Department, who's pretty much on a mission to help get distracted driving put to an end. Thanks for joining us today.
Happy to be here. Yeah, about a year and a half ago, my assignment within the agency changed a bit, and then I'm doing a lot of distracted driving presentations. I've done a lot of research on distracted driving and going out to the community to talk to them about the problems and what can be done about it.
And as far as distracted driving goes, people hear about it. They, oh yeah, I'm making a text when I'm on my phone driving the car. But what is the problem with distracted driving? Why is it such an issue and need to be addressed?
It's causing accidents. Over 75% of all accidents right now are caused by some sort of a distraction. And everybody thinks it's a cell phone. Everybody thinks it's picking up this phone and tapping away. But it's so much more than that. It's anything that takes your eyes, your mind, or your hands off of the job of driving. Because face it, the time that you're in a car, you have one responsibility, and that's to drive safely from point A to point B. Unfortunately, so many other factors come into it, whether it's food in the car, whether it's passengers in the car chatting at you, throwing things at you from the back seat, reaching over for a CD on the right front floor, reaching down to adjust a radio station. Certainly texting and phones are an issue with it, but there's so many other things. You see a billboard, if you look out too long at a billboard and you focus back all of a sudden, and all of a sudden the things in front of you have changed, then you have a problem.
And there's so many different kinds. You can break distracted driving into three types of distractions, correct?
Generally speaking, there's three different types of distractions for the driver. There's the visual part, taking your eyes off the road, looking around at things that aren't really pertaining to driving, more than just checking your mirrors. There's the cognitive part, the mental aspect of taking your mind away from driving. And then there's the physical side, the tactile of reaching for something where you actually have hands-on. Texting, of course, is the worst because it encompasses all three. You're looking at the text message, you're typing, you have your hands off the wheel, and your mind is thinking about what's going on. Distracted driving for even people with Bluetooth. There was a brain study that I read recently that I found very interesting. If you and I are driving in a car and we're having a conversation, I can still be focused mostly on driving and still engaged in that conversation. But once you are no longer in that car with me, now my mind tends to go to where you are. An example of that, I was giving a presentation one day, and the laptop I was using crashed. It just died on me. And I called my wife and said, honey, can you go home, grab the other laptop, and bring it over here? And she said, okay, I'm heading this way on a street, passing a school, and my mind in front of these people went poof to what she was doing and where she was. And that really brought that to front.
There's a lot of things I think of with distracted driving that I think the idea of it just being a distracted driving campaign of trying to get people to stop do it. There's so many things that are marketed to, you can do this while you're driving, make it easier while in the car, but people seem to forget that driving is what they should be doing in the car. That's actually a priority, and they're driving a giant vehicle that could end their life or somebody else's. But what are some things you've seen actually in Greeley that have really stuck with you that hit home with distracted driving?
I think the best anecdotal story was I was going up 65th Avenue on my motorcycle, and I'm on the left tire track, and I see a car come over the double yellow line into my lane. And I'm thinking, oh, okay, I'm a professional, I recognize that as a problem, and I point to the driver, and I point over to the left. Well, she doesn't go back to her side of the road, so I go to the outside tire track, and she holds that lane for about 200, 250 feet maybe, and then she goes back. And as we pass each other, I see she's got her left hand on the steering wheel, and she's tap, 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 looking up, tap, 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 looking up as we pass each other. So I make a U-turn, I go over and I pull up to her next to her at the red light, and I'm on my police motorcycle, and I pull up right next to her driver's door, and I look in there, and she's tap, 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 light still red, tap, 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 light still red. I'm on this big shiny motorcycle, all the lights going. She is totally oblivious to me being there. So I tap on the window, startle the heck out of her, wave her onto the side road, and she told me, this is garbage. I need to be able to text and drive. She walked away with a ticket for texting while driving and for driving on the wrong side of the road. And that's a shame. It's that mentality that can cause problems. People think they have an obligation to it. And you were right when you said earlier, we've all texted and driven. We are all guilty of that, okay? But it's time that we recognize what the hazards are and we try and minimize that.
Very, very sound advice. And there's also a chance for people, if they want to get more information, you do presentations at schools and different places like that. If somebody wants to get a presentation or more information about how they could help spread the message for distracted driving, what's the best way for them to do that?
I've got about a 50-minute PowerPoint presentation that I can do. I've done it to civic groups, high school students, churches, and so forth. Information will be on the screen as to how to reach me at my email or my desk phone.
All right. And to wrap things up with today, we've talked about the dangers of distracted driving, what distracted driving is, but what is the best way for people to lead by example is what we were talking about earlier. What's the best way for people to do that?
Lead by example is exactly the right phrase there. As we talked about, we're both guilty of it. We've done it. But now is the time to stop that, to show your children that you don't have to text while driving, you don't have to be doing all these distracting things while driving a motor vehicle, that you yourself can focus on the art of driving. And if you do that, they see that. Bring it up at the dinner table. Discuss these things with your kids, because as you're getting close to driving age, they're going to start seeing everything you do. If they see you yelling at other drivers, they're going to recognize that, and they're going to take that over and do it themselves. We want to stay away from that sort of aggressiveness. Lead by example. Show them that you can be a true driver, a true leader in your family. If you're a grandparent, bring it up at Thanksgiving and other events when you're with the family, that, hey, you saw this video or you heard this statistic and it's killing people, and I want you to be safe. 5 of Greeley's, in the last couple of years, accidents were caused by somebody that was actually texting or using a handheld mobile device.
Very, very sad. Well, thank you so much for joining us today, and thank you for helping to keep our streets a safer place. Distracted driving, you don't want to do it. You want to lead by example, show everybody else that you don't need to do anything else while you're driving. Be a good example for your kids. Don't end your life for somebody else's early. You can get more details about distracted driving at distraction.gov, but lead by example and don't be a distracted driver here on the streets of Greeley.